welcome back to Emotional Mojo. So you don't like the way your life is going, right? Well, what if we told you you could transform your life before the clock even hits AM? 8 a.m. Yeah, you could be done by now, okay? Our next guest has the not-so-obvious secret to transforming any area of your life. It is all in his new book. It's called The Miracle Morning, and he is going to spill the beans with us right now. So welcome, Hal Elrod. Thank you so much for coming on the show.
It's an exciting time for me. I'm excited to be here.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to get into the secrets and what we need to do, but first, we have to talk about your story because it is the inspiration for seizing the opportunity to transform your life. So you were 20, a drunk driver hit you head on, 70 miles an hour. You were dead for 6 minutes. I mean, this is unbelievable. So what happened after that?
Well, 6 days later, I came out of a coma and found out that I had broken 11 bones on the left side of my body, and the doctor said I would never walk again and could be a vegetable for the rest of my life.
Look at that photo. Oh my goodness.
And I said, you know what, the doctors might be experts in medicine, but they're not experts in me. And I told my parents, Mom and Dad, stop crying, stop worrying. I'm going to figure this out. We're going to take this thing head on, and it'll be okay. And 3 weeks later, I took my first step, and the doctors couldn't even explain it. So.
Oh my
And from the first step, you have now become an ultra
marathon runner. I always say it's deceiving to say I've become an ultra marathon runner because it sounds like I do more than one, but it was a bucket list item. It was, I hate running, and the doctor said I'd never walk again, so why don't I just run a marathon? And then once I did that, I said, why not an ultra marathon?
Of course, why not?
Just prove them wrong.
If I could run 26, I could run 52.
And we talk about like the injuries you had, and I know, Jada, you wanted to get into this a little bit too. What happened with your brain?
So I experienced frontal lobe damage, which is the most common in a head-on collision. At 70 miles an hour, when my body stopped, my brain was still traveling 70 miles an hour into the front of my skull.
Oh my gosh.
And it smashed the front of my brain, which caused me to have very little, almost no short-term memory, and I was uninhibited. I literally said everything a 20-year-old guy thinks.
No, that's really scary.
Yeah, and I had this really attractive Nurse Wendy, who had to bathe me, so you could imagine the things that came out of my mouth. It was,
Is that something you see?
Yes, we see a lot of trauma. And, you know, one of the things I thought was interesting, because we talked about it earlier, Hal, is that you had the physical trauma, but then there was a psychological trauma as well that you had to work through. And a lot of that, you use positive thinking to kind of turn it, and I call it the reframe. You know, just really starting to see things more positive. How did you do that?
Well, for me, I learned something. I was in sales at this time, and I learned something in sales called the 5-minute rule, which says it's okay to be negative when you have a bad day, but not for more than 5 minutes, right? You know, curse, moan, complain, vent, scream at your system. Yeah, but then you literally, for me, it was 3 magic words: can't change it. Can't change it. So once something is out of your control, it's in the past. Feeling bad about it is you're causing that. It's not because people think it's the thing makes me feel bad, but it's the fact that we're not willing to accept whatever it is that we're putting our energy into. So for me, I couldn't walk again. They said. I said, Mom and Dad, if I never walk again, I'll be the happiest person in a wheelchair.
Now here's something interesting. So in the book, The Miracle Morning, you talk about what you call your second rock bottom, and so this happened 8 years after the car accident, but how can it get any worse than that? What was the second rock bottom?
Well, it was a common rock bottom that a lot of Americans experience, which is when the U.S. economy crashed, my business failed. So I went from being really successful, had just bought my first house, just bought my first new car, like probably shouldn't have bought them at the same time, but typical American, right? And then the economy crashed and my business failed. And here's the difference: is when I woke up out of my coma, that really was rock bottom. Like it couldn't get worse than that. So it was all positive, like all optimistic. But when the economy crashed in 2008, 2009, it was getting worse every day. My bank account balance was getting lower, and I got deeply depressed and didn't want to get out of bed in the morning, and it just didn't really want to go on.
And it was a different kind of challenge. I mean, coming out of a coma and being told you can never walk again, you're like, yes, I can, but then it's a different kind of challenge when you're hitting rock bottom from a money perspective, right? I mean,
and also, I didn't have, when I was in the hospital, I was in a safe place with Mom and Dad and friends and nurses and doctors and love and support. This time I was at home by myself, checking the bank statements, going, I'm a mess.
Let's get into this book, because you said you didn't want to get up in the morning, but you obviously found success in the morning. What kind of changes are we talking about here? And what's all this talk about in 6 minutes you can change your life? Because I want to know.
Well, it sounds like a gimmick, but it's not. No, for me, I realized I had to make a change in my life. It finally hit me. A friend had a conversation, and I confessed I'm depressed, things aren't going well, and I decided the next morning that I was going to wake up up an hour earlier than I had to, which most Americans waste the morning, right?
Yeah.
They wait till the last minute until they have to wake up. And I woke up the next morning and I did 6 of the most powerful personal development practices that I had ever learned but never done. Meditation, visualization, affirmations, exercise, reading, and journaling. All in an hour.
Those are all of my mental health activities.
Exactly.
Every single one of them.
In the morning. Now, what if you're not a morning person?
I
What do you
wasn't a morning
suggest to
person.
people?
Well, read the book. I mean, that, you know, and I actually have in the book. There's a chapter called the 5-step snooze-proof wake-up strategy for the snoozeaholics, right? Which is what I was, which is hit the snooze button over and over. So it literally teaches you how do you make waking up in the morning easy if you're not a morning person.
Because if you can do all those things, you feel set for the day. Like you've already taken control in that hour that is your hour.
That's what happened.
Yeah, well, I was going to say, you also say there's 3 things that we shouldn't do.
Yeah.
In the morning.
In the morning.
And I do all of them.
I don't know.
I'm going to confess.
Yeah.
The first one was the snooze button.
Do not hit the snooze button.
What's up with that one?
And the reason, again, most Americans waste their morning. They hit the snooze button over and over until the last minute.
Yeah.
And they head out the door, and then they just rinse and repeat. Come home, veg out in front of the TV, and do the same thing. And the idea is that the morning time is when science proves our willpower is the strongest. It hasn't been worn out all day.
That's right.
So mentally, emotionally, and physically, it's the strongest. We should work on things that move us towards.
And
towards
now,
our
Hal,
goals.
I'm not
liking the second one
Yeah,
at all.
not a fan. We're not allowed to have coffee? What does that mean?
People always throw things at me when I share that. No, so
I'm with you.
Do not have coffee. Do not start with coffee. And here's why. When we wake up in the morning, 8 hours without water, we're dehydrated by default. So I pound a glass of water, and I love coffee. Then I drink coffee. Head to Starbucks, get your favorite latte, but not till you rehydrate.
Facebook?
I like it.
Facebook?
The last one, don't check Facebook first thing. And the reason is, or email for that matter.
Okay,
And not
first thing.
The first thing, yeah, you can get to it, but here's the point, is it goes back to that first thing, your willpower is the strongest. Work on your goals and dreams. Start writing that book that you've wanted to write. Train for that marathon. Start that business. Then once you've spent 30 to 60 minutes on an important activity that moves you closer to what you want
Work
for
on
your
that
life.
visualization, meditation, exercise. Work on yourself before you start
Do
engaging
your miracle
in social
morning
media.
and then go waste your time on Facebook, right?
It's funny, every
I'm
time
just
you
motivated by the energy.
Yeah,
My God,
I know,
you have
right?
energy galore.
He's like jumping out of the...
Every time you see those articles too about what the most successful people do, the theme that continues always is in the morning. They get up early in the morning. So if this can help the miracle morning, then I am all for it. I'm going to be reading this. Thank you so much, Hal, for coming by our show, and make sure you guys pick it up. The book is called The Miracle Morning.